Hey everyone, it's Maddie and today we're going to be showing you all of the books we've hauled in January. Maddie came home one day after work with a bag full of books and they were little treats for the two of us, but she picked out Warcross by Marie-Lou specifically for me. Warcross is a game like an online-offline simulation situation, I'm pretty sure of, and Emeka, our main girl, hunts down illegal players. Really, I don't know much more about it. I've just got the general vibe from Marie-Lou's Pinterest board for it, which I've been following for ages. It's like sci-fi Tokyo with gamer undertones. I watched the Ready Player One movie recently, so I feel like I'm prepared to visualise this to the best of my ability. Next, I chose Dumplin by Julie Murphy. We had the delight of watching the movie on Netflix and really loved it. I just thought it managed to do the tone really well, how they balanced the tragedy of Willowdean's aunt and her relationship with her even though she's passed away, and also the whole pageant element. But obviously in the book we'll get to explore those themes a little bit further. And we hope that this book focuses a lot more on the friendship of the team that builds between Willowdean and her best friend and the two girls that decide to join them in their anti-pageant. We'll probably leave this one a while before reading it because the movie is so fresh in our minds, but I can't wait to see what the book version is like too. Next I have An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This one we only bought for £1 in the works, and although it's not going to match any of the new covers for the rest of the books, which hopefully I will like enough to buy, I'm really excited to have it. It's almost a booktube classic now that I haven't read, and it's on my TBR for this quarter, so I'm not going to put it off any longer. Similar to Warcross, it's one where I don't know much about the plot, only that a lot of people enjoy it. Then we have Dare to Fall by Estelle Maskame. We're really excited to expand our collection of her books beyond the Dimmerly series. This is all about Kenzie, who has the perfect life until tragedy strikes her family and she starts feeling a connection towards the bad boy of the school. Estelle is excellent at dealing with tropes in a way that you don't expect, and her books just give me a vibe that no others do. In comparison to Dimmerly, I think this takes a more serious tone in the vein of All the Bright Places, but I'm excited to see how Estelle handles that. If you watched our Come Book Shopping with Us video, then you'll know that I picked out Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. I read almost the first chapter when we were actually in the store, and the writing style is so comfortable I immediately slipped into the world. I've read everything by Julie Kagawa so far and I've loved it all, and this is the story of Japanese mythology about a girl called Yumiko who is a shapeshifter. She can turn into the 8 or 9-tailed fox. I'm pretty sure it's going to be an action adventure because the stakes are really high on the blurb, and I'm looking forward to reading something fast-paced. I hope it grips me right until the end. Next I picked out Nowhere on Earth by Nick Lake. This is all about Emily and her younger brother who survive a plane crash and have to figure out their way back to civilization, but this is made harder by the fact that there are men chasing them for a reason we don't know. I read the first couple of chapters in the bookstore and it already set up a few seeds that I'm interested in, so I'm looking forward to getting to know these characters and unveiling the mystery behind this one. I think it's one I'm going to read in one sitting because of its pace, and as we said, I like that I'm introducing more action-adventure type books to my TBR rather than just contemporaries, because I feel like they took up the majority of 2018 and I want to widen out my genre pool. Quite a while ago we picked up The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie, another booktube staple of the last few years. The sequel, I do believe, has either come out or it's just about to come out in the US, and I think that has some ace protagonists, so I'm more interested in that one than this one. It's about Monty and he's going on a grand tour of Europe and he's falling in love with his best friend and sidekick Percy. They get up to some scrapes and misadventures, and I did a lot of research on the Regency period when I was at university, so I'm hoping it's going to be delightfully authentic with a queer twist. Next we were sent Rayne and Delilah's Midnight Matinee by Jeff Zentner, who's the author of The Serpent King and Goodbye Days, both of which I really enjoyed, so there's a lot to live up to with this one, but it includes two female protagonists, Josie and Delia, so that's going to be a perspective shift from his previous books. I'm really looking forward to that. Both of these girls co-host their own cable show, which is the title of the book, where they dress up as vampires and make horror movies. It's something that they did in their last year of high school, and now that's coming to an end, they're wondering where they're going to go from there. Josie wants to stay really connected to the TV show, while Delia wants to hunt down her father who went missing. I think having friendship at the core of this novel is really going to endear me to it, so fingers crossed that I like it just as much as his previous books. Next we have Our Dark Duet by V. Schwab, which is the second book in the Monsters of Verity series. This is about Kate, who's a monster hunter, and August, who is a monster himself. They're both very connected to music. It's what connects August to his soul, and from what I remember he has a brother and sister who are also really interesting side characters too. I can't remember exactly what happens in the first book, but I do remember the ending and how shocking it was, so a reread is definitely in order before we get around to this. It's probably going to be a series that we buddy read slightly later in the year, so I hope that this is going to be the perfect conclusion. Another recent purchase is Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen M. McManus. This is her second book after One of Us is Lying, and after I enjoyed that so much last year, I knew this was one I would have to pick up. It's all about Ellery and her twin brother Ezra, who are going back to the town that their mum used to live in. Echo Ridge is known for murdering prom queens. As their mother's sister went missing 25 years ago, ago, and just 5 years ago, Lacey, the most popular girl in the school, was killed at a local theme park. With the two slightly different generations, there are a lot of suspects for the most recent taking, because the other perspective is Malcolm, the brother of Declan, who was accused of Lacey's murder. It's a little bit hard to keep a handle on, but once you get down everybody's names, then it's a lot easier to follow, and it's actually one I've already read, so if you want to hear my thoughts, then look out for our Reading Week vlog. Just as we were filming this, we saw the postman walk across the window in front of us, so I went to go and check to see if anything was there, and we have this package from Walker Books, which we will open now. And it is very yellow. Oh, okay. So this is the ARC copy of On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. We are actually shamefully yet to read The Hate U Give. We have it down there and it has to be prioritised because I want to read her books in order. Yeah. But we have this one now, so that's definitely an encouragement to get going on that. 16-year-old Bree wants to become one of the best rappers of all time, but it's hard to get your come up when you've been labelled trouble at school and your fridge at home is empty after your mum loses her job. Bree pours her anger and frustration into her first song and it goes viral for all the wrong reasons. She soon finds herself at the centre of controversy, portrayed by the media as more menace than MC. Her success is all that stands between her family and homelessness, so Bree doesn't just want to make it, she has to. I definitely love a good media spiral. Yeah, I think that's something that we would really want to write about, so hopefully this will be inspirational too. Part of the press kit is a letter from Angie Thomas, so we'll definitely give that one a read. And now we have 2 books from Angie Thomas, maybe it's time for a reading double. Next we have quite a big addition to our shelves, but one that's been quite long awaited, and that is the Vampire Academy series by Richelle Mead. We also completed our Bloodlines collection. We had the first 3 books, so we've got the last 3. We ended up getting these ones first and we just loved the look of having the full collection, and because we're reading the Vampire Academy series on my Kindle now, we were like, this is such a classic and we're definitely going to be rereading it in the future. We may as well make the investment into getting the physical editions. And finally, I went to the library and picked out a bunch of books to surprise Bee with, as they had quite a few new releases there. I picked out 2 for myself and 2 for her. And then we also picked up a fun reread that the 2 of us really loved years ago that we're hoping to read next month, and that's Pivot Point by Kasie West. This is all about Addie, who has a power where she can see 2 different versions of the future, and you're not sure which one she's living, although you get to see both. It's a really exciting paranormal story from Kasie West, which is so different from her cutesy romances. It's one of my favourite, if not my favourite, of the books that she's written though. You can read it as a standalone, even though it does have a companion sequel, which we probably won't be rereading, just because I love this story and it's a 5-star read. First book I have is Orphan Monster Spy by Kileen. This is one I almost picked up at Yelk, but didn't for some reason. It's the story of a Jewish orphan who ends up going to a Nazi boarding camp and trying to survive, and it says that she becomes a monster, and I think she's spying on them as well, and it just sounded really thrilling and something I enjoy. And the next book I have is Pulp by Robin Talley. In 1955 you have Janet, where McCarthyism made being gay a sin, and then she discovers lesbian pulp fiction and starts to write it herself, and in the present day you have Abby, who is doing her senior class project on lesbian pulp fiction, so she starts to connect to that past, and her favourite writer happens to be Marion Love, which is Janet's pen name. I think this is a love story to lesbian love stories, so I'm really excited to read it. And I chose Someday by David Levithan, which is the sequel to Every Day that I didn't know existed until probably about 2 days ago, and when it just turned up in the library it seemed like fate to read it. We absolutely loved the movie recently, so I'm using that rather than rereading Every Day because it's been quite a while since I read that book, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how their story progresses. And then I chose If You Find Me by Emily Murdoch. This is a book that Bee has read, and it's probably the last thriller that just she has read that I haven't, so I wanted to pick that up to come full circle and have read all of the same things. It's all about Carrie and her sister Janessa, who have been growing up in the woods since as long as she can remember, and suddenly her mum's not there anymore and this strange man has come to take her place. It's all about their survival and finding out who their family actually is. It sounds gripping and chilling, so I'm really looking forward to the vibe of this one. So those are all the books that we have to haul for January. Thank you everyone so much for watching. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Maddie and Bee, and we make bookish videos every week, so subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you next time.